Welcome to Shelby Stitcher. This is Joan Parker, and I am going to show you how to web another top today. This can be a very simple process, but it's important to just trust the process and go ahead and pick these blocks up the way I'm going to show you. Now, some of them do have pins in them, so I need to go through and take out those few pins. Sometimes the blocks tend to flop down and I don't want them to fall while I'm laying out the other blocks. So I'm just going to quickly go through and try to find all the pins before I get started so that I don't have to hesitate when I'm quickly going through and picking up all the blocks. I think that's all of them. There might be one more right here. Actually, that wasn't in a block, it was just above a block. I'm trying to kind of look from the side to make sure they're all here. Again, when you lay your blocks out, with this pattern in particular, want to make sure that the blocks that are pieced in strips are all going horizontally on rows number 1, 3, 5, 7, and so on. This layout is 11 by 17, and we're going to start over on this side with flipping this block over and picking up that pair, then flipping this block over, putting that pair behind it, and so on as you go down the columns. I have the pleasure of going to sew with a friend today, and she called me last night and said that the senior center where we used to sew together just got in 4 or 5 vans full of fabric, and they're not going to be able to store all that fabric at the senior center in the quilting room because there just isn't the cabinet space. So several of the ladies that I used to sew with there suggested that they call me to see if I wanted to come and get any fabric. If and when I show you how much fabric I have at my house in my sewing room, you'll say, "Girl, you do not even need to go there." But I do, because if somebody offers you fabric, you always go look at it, because you never know when you're going to find some treasures, and I do mean treasures. So I'm heading there a little bit earlier, and then we'll go to her house and sew together. So I just picked up columns 1 and 2. You flip column 2 over onto column 1 and pick up that set of blocks. When I take this back to my sewing machine, I already have marked the top left block with the safety pin, so you can see that's where I'll be starting. I'll be sewing down, picking up 2 blocks and sewing down the right side of all these sets. When I get to the end, my next block in my stack beside my sewing machine will be face up, so I'll know that that's the one that should go on as the third one of the first row. Now when you sew across these, you do not cut the threads in between the pairs, and that's why it's called webbing. It keeps all the blocks in the right place and in the right orientation. As long as you don't disturb your stack, you're good to go. I have been blessed with a small, well, I guess they're all small, with the featherweight sewing machine. I've had it probably for 10 years at least. It was built in 1948, and I will show that to you at some point. That's my travel machine. I was teaching several ladies how to sew, and I was doing it for free, and they decided independently that they would get me gift cards to Hobby Lobby as a thank you for the sewing lessons. I took those, well, again, probably one of my strongest qualities is how frugal I am. Even if we can afford to spend money on something, I'm very frugal. And I know we all have our own definition of that. But anyway, I wasn't going to buy something to use for a carry case for my machine and all my quilting supplies. Of course, if you know about featherweights, they come in a little suitcase. But they are kind of bulky, and you don't want to be carrying that and all your other sewing paraphernalia when you're going out to sew at a random location. So this opportunity came up to spend some money at Hobby Lobby. And while I think it's a great store, I don't shop there very often. I'm on a self-imposed spending restriction on fabric, and it's been tempting to say, well, I could just go out and buy 3 yards for this, or I could go buy backing for that. But I've enjoyed so much the challenge of piecing a back or just finding something that might not be perfect, but it works, you know what I mean? And it just brings me great joy to be using up what I've been given. So I'm really excited about going and seeing all this fabric today. I've been told that there were all different types of fabric, that they've already gone through and taken out all the non-quilting fabric. So that will save a ton of time. I love looking at these blocks as I pick them up. So for your third column and onward, you just start at the top and pick up the blocks one by one, stacking them with the one on top of the column on top of your stack. And then you add it to the back of your stack that's in your hand, and you keep them all oriented with the tops up. And hopefully you will have already looked at my webbing the top parts 1 and 2 videos from before, but this is such a relaxing way to sit and sew for an hour or 2 or 3 or however long you can afford, because you don't have to keep getting up and putting the block back on your design wall to see which next block you should pick up. You see my stack's already very thick and healthy, and this is what I want. Just 3 more columns. So back to my story. I took that money on the Hobby Lobby gift cards and bought, I think it was called a scrapbooking thing that was on wheels, had an extendable handle, sort of like a small suitcase you would use in the airport where you see people, pushing their bag down the hallways. So my sewing machine, cutting mats, pressing mat, small iron, and all the other quilty things, scissors, ripper, extra threads and bobbins and all those things, they fit beautifully in my rolling suitcase. And I think, like I said, I think it's a scrapbooking. It was listed or described on the tag as a scrapbooking thing. And I will show you that at some point. But that's my portable sewing kit, and I take it when I go to my children's houses that live far away, because a lot of times they have a little something that needs repaired, or they want something hemmed or sewn or whatever, and I have my kit with me, and it's beautiful. So here's my entire stack of, I believe it's 192 blocks, and they'll be easy to pick up. I'm going to come closer to the camera. It's a dismal day and it's raining, so that's why the light's so bad. So I pick up 2 at a time and sew down the right side until I've gone the whole way through the stack. And let me see if I can find the end of the stack. Okay, here's where there's still 2 right sides together, 2 right sides together, and I think this is the last one. 2 right sides together. Nope, one more. 2 right sides together. Oh, another one. There's 13 of these. 2 right sides together, 2 right sides together. When I get to this one that is right side up and there's not 2 right sides together, I know this is the first block in column 2. And then from there you just go on. And I pay attention as I add my next block to make sure that if I have a framed block, my next one should be a rail fence, and so on. So that kind of keeps you on track. But of course I take some pictures of my whole quilt up on the design wall so that I can refer back to it if necessary. Thank you for watching.